I watched the woman I thought I'd marry walk out of my apartment for the last time. And the worst part wasn't that she was leaving, it was that I could see the disgust in her eyes when she looked at me. That was 3 months ago, and if I'm being brutally honest, I deserved it. My name doesn't matter, but my story might save you from making the same soul-crushing mistakes I did. Because what I'm about to tell you isn't just about losing one girlfriend. It's about how my desperate need for love turned me into the kind of man that women can't help but run from. It started with Michelle. God, just saying her name still makes my chest tight. We met at a coffee shop on a rainy Tuesday, and when she smiled at me over her latte, I felt something I'd never felt before. Hope. Real, terrifying hope that maybe I wasn't destined to be alone forever. Our first date was perfect. We talked for hours. She laughed at my jokes. She actually seemed interested in what I had to say. For the first time in my pathetic dating life, I thought I'd found her. The one. But here's where it all started to go wrong. And I need you to pay attention because this is the moment that destroyed everything. The very next day, I texted her. Good morning, beautiful. Hope you have an amazing day. Can't wait to see you again. She responded 4 hours later with just thanks. Did that stop me? Hell no. I doubled down. I sent her memes. Good morning texts. Asked about her day. Told her about mine in excruciating detail. I was like a lovesick puppy, and she hadn't even agreed to a second date yet. But she did agree. And that's when I made the biggest mistake of my life. I decided Michelle was my girlfriend. Not officially, you understand. She never actually agreed to that. But in my mind, she was mine, and I was going to prove to her that I was boyfriend material. I started showing up at her work with coffee. Surprise visits, I called them. She called them a bit much. I planned elaborate dates, expensive dinners, weekend getaways that I couldn't afford. When she said she was busy, I'd wait. Sometimes for days. Just waiting for her to have time for me. My friends started joking that they never saw me anymore. Where's Michelle? They'd ask when I'd briefly surface at a group hangout. The truth was, I'd canceled on them. Again. Because Michelle might text me. Michelle might want to see a movie. Michelle might need me. I gave up my gym membership because that was 2 hours a day I could be available for her. I stopped playing guitar, something I'd loved for 10 years, because she once mentioned she didn't really like music. I even changed my career goals because she said she wanted to date someone more stable. 3 months in, she still hadn't said, I love you back. Yeah, you heard that right. I'd been saying it for weeks. And she'd just smile awkwardly and change the subject. But I kept saying it. Every call, every text, every time I saw her. Like a broken record of desperation. Then came the night that should have been my wake-up call. Michelle's best friend Linda was having a birthday party. Michelle had been excited about it for weeks, talking about how she hadn't seen her college friends in months. She mentioned, almost casually, that partners weren't really invited. It was more of a girls' reunion. You know what I heard? That she didn't want me there. That I wasn't important enough. That after 3 months of me reorganizing my entire life around her, I still wasn't worth including. So I did what any rational, definitely not crazy person would do. I showed up anyway. I bought Linda an expensive gift, dressed in my best shirt, and convinced myself I was being romantic and spontaneous. The look on Michelle's face when she saw me at that door. God, I can still see it. It wasn't surprise. It wasn't joy. It was pure, undiluted embarrassment. She pulled me aside, and for the first time since I'd known her, Michelle raised her voice at me. What are you doing here? I told you this was a girl's thing. I just wanted to surprise you. I mumbled, holding out Linda's gift like some kind of peace offering. This isn't a surprise. It's suffocating. That word hit me like a slap. Suffocating. But did I listen? Did I apologize and leave? No. I stayed. I spent the entire night following her around like a lost dog, trying to prove to her friends that I was good enough for her. I laughed too loud at their jokes. I offered to get everyone drinks. I probably told the story of how Michelle and I met at least 4 times. When she finally agreed to leave with me, the car ride home was the longest 20 minutes of my life. She stared out the window the entire time, and when I tried to hold her hand, she pulled away. But the worst part was what she said when I walked her to her door. I think we need to take a break. 8 words that shattered my entire world. But here's the thing about being pathologically needy. You don't hear, take a break, as a warning. You hear it as a challenge. A problem to solve. Something to fix with more love, more attention, more everything. I spent the next week crafting the perfect apology text. We're talking war and peace levels of detail here. I explain my feelings, my motivations, my deep love for her. I promised to change, to give her space, to be better. Her response? Thanks for understanding. I'll call you when I'm ready. That call never came. Instead, I got something worse. I got to watch her move on without me. Social media became my personal torture device. There she was, laughing with friends at brunch. The same brunch she was too busy to have with me. There she was at a concert for a band she'd told me she didn't like. There she was, living her best life, and I wasn't in a single photo. The rational part of my brain knew what this meant. But the needy, desperate part of my brain had other plans. I started showing up places I knew she'd be. Not stalking, I told myself. Just coincidentally being at the same coffee shop, the same grocery store, the same park where we'd had our third date. And then, exactly 3 weeks into our break, I saw something that nearly killed me. Michelle was on a date. With someone else. Some tall, confident-looking guy who made her laugh in a way I'd never seen before. She looked happy. Really, genuinely happy. Happier than she'd ever looked with me. I stood there, hidden behind a pillar in that restaurant, watching the woman I'd reorganized my entire life for enjoy herself with a complete stranger. And the worst part? She was the same Michelle I'd fallen for, but somehow different. More relaxed. More herself. That's when it hit me like a freight train of self-awareness. She wasn't the problem. I was. I went home that night and did something I should have done months earlier. I asked myself the hardest question of my life. Who are you when you're not trying to be perfect for someone else? I couldn't answer it. Because somewhere along the way, I'd stopped being me. I'd become this hollow shell of a person whose entire identity revolved around being Michelle's boyfriend. Except I wasn't even that anymore. The next morning, I did something that felt like emotional suicide. I deleted her number. Blocked her on social media. Not out of anger, but out of a desperate need to remember who I was before I'd lost myself in loving her. The withdrawal was brutal. Have you ever been addicted to a person? It's not romantic. It's pathetic. I'd reach for my phone 50 times a day to text her, only to remember I couldn't. I'd plan out conversations we'd never have. I'd rehearse apologies for a relationship that was already over. But slowly, something started to change. Without the constant need to be available for Michelle, I had time. Time I'd forgotten I had. Time to think, to breathe, to exist without performing. I picked up my guitar for the first time in 6 months. My fingers were clumsy, out of practice, but the music still came. I called my friend Mike, who I'd blown off countless times for Michelle. He was surprised to hear from me, but we talked for 2 hours like no time had passed. I started going to the gym again, not to impress anyone, but because I'd forgotten how good it felt to be strong, to challenge myself, to have goals that had nothing to do with anyone else. And then, just when I thought I was healing, Michelle called. It was 11 p.m. on a Thursday. I almost didn't answer, but some part of me, the old, needy part, couldn't resist. Hey, she said, and just the sound of her voice sent me spiraling back to those early days when everything felt possible. I've been thinking about us. About everything. I miss you. Those 3 words, I miss you, were like heroin to my recovering heart. Every rational thought I'd built up over the past month vanished. She missed me. She wanted me back. This was my second chance to prove I could be the man she needed. I miss you too, I whispered, already planning how I'd win her back. How I'd be better this time. How I'd learn my lesson. We talked for 3 hours that night. She told me about her new job, her family drama, her fears about the future. And I listened like my life depended on it, offering solutions, support, unwavering devotion. Just like old times. When she asked if we could meet for coffee, I said yes before she'd finished the sentence. But what happened at that coffee shop changed my life forever. Michelle looked beautiful, just like always. But there was something different in her eyes. Something I'd been too desperate to see before. We talked for 20 minutes about safe topics, work, weather, mutual friends. Then she took a deep breath and said something that finally opened my eyes. I called you because I was lonely, and I knew you'd always be there. Not because she loved me, not because she missed our connection, because she knew I was her reliable source of validation, her emotional backup plan, her sure thing. But that's not fair to you, she continued, and for the first time, I heard something in her voice I'd never noticed before: pity. You deserve someone who chooses you first, not someone who comes back to you when she's bored. That's when I realized the most devastating truth of all. I'd never lost Michelle because I'd never really had her. What I'd mistaken for love was just convenience. What I'd called romance was just availability. What I'd thought was devotion was just desperation. I sat there, looking at this woman I'd nearly destroyed myself over, and felt something I'd never felt before in a relationship: clarity. You're right, I said, and watched her eyes widen in surprise. This isn't fair to me. For the first time in our entire history together, I was the one who stood up first. I was the one who ended the conversation. I was the one who walked away. And you know what? She didn't follow me. That was 8 months ago. I wish I could tell you that walking away from Michelle instantly transformed me into some kind of dating god, but real life doesn't work that way. What it did do was force me to confront the hardest truth of my life. I didn't know how to love someone without losing myself. I spent the next few months learning to be alone without being lonely. I rediscovered old passions, made new friends, set boundaries with people who'd been taking advantage of my nice guy nature for years. I learned that attraction isn't about being perfect or available or selfless. It's about being whole, being someone worth choosing, not someone grateful to be chosen. The neediness that had poisoned every relationship I'd ever had didn't disappear overnight. It was a muscle I had to work every day, learning to find validation from within instead of from whoever was willing to give me attention. And slowly, something amazing started to happen. Women started responding to me differently. Not because I'd learned some pickup technique or started playing games, but because I'd finally become someone worth knowing. Someone with his own life, his own goals, his own sense of self-worth. Last month, I met someone new, Lisa, and for the first time in my life, I didn't immediately start planning our future together. I didn't change my schedule around hers. I didn't put her on a pedestal or make her the center of my universe. I just enjoyed getting to know her, and she enjoyed getting to know the real me, not the desperate, needy version I'd been performing for years. If my story resonates with you, if you've been that guy who gives everything and gets nothing back, who waits by his phone for replies that never come, who's tired of being the friend when you want to be the boyfriend, then listen to me carefully. You don't have to live this way forever. The transformation I went through didn't happen by accident. It happened because I finally found a system that taught me how to break free from the nice guy trap without losing who I am at my core. How I finally stopped being the friendzone guy, without changing my personality. With one simple move, you can. Stop losing women that initially liked you, because you couldn't play the game. Re-enter the dating scene with confidence, at any age. Pass each and every one of women's secret tests. How to stop being needy around women you find attractive. Unlock the Scrambler is the only system that combines eliminating the nice guy behavior ingrained in so many men with the most cutting-edge discoveries of modern psychology. So you can gain the attraction of women, project personal power, and avoid the "let's just be friends" speech for good. The link is in the description below. Your future self will thank you for clicking it. Because you deserve to be chosen first. You deserve to be wanted, not needed. You deserve love that doesn't require you to disappear. Stop being the backup plan. Start being the first choice. Click the link below and begin your transformation today.